Hi guys, it's Ms. Bergen. I'm going to finish the rest of lesson 1.5, so we will do that. Again, it is very, very important that you know all your multiplication facts. The faster you know them, the quicker that all of this will go. So especially starting now, you better be learning them, especially the ones that you don't know, because all your homeworks will go 10 times faster if you know them. So you can start working on that. And I'm going to finish off 1.5, and then we're going to talk about the chapter review that I want you guys to do this week, as well as probably in a whole nother video. We'll see how long this one goes, but in a whole nother video, I might just do lesson 1.7 as well. So I will get to this one. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can. All right, so this one says one roll. By the way, this is page 31. So this says at number 18, it says one roll is 50 dimes. So they want to know how much would it be, how many dimes would there be if there were 20 rolls. Now remember, there's 50 in each, and then you're going to times it by 20. So if you do that, you would do the first thing, which is 5 times 2 was that basic math fact, which is 10, and then times it by how many zeros are at the ends, which is 10 to the third power. Also, the one thing that they don't tell you is that you could actually combine that because there's 110 here plus 2 more. So therefore, that could also have been 10 to the third power as well. So I do want you guys to know that you could have done that as well. Anyway, so now you're going to go to the 30. If there are 30 rolls, so you go 50 times 30. So the basic multiplication fact would be 5 times 3, which is 15. And then you times it by how many zeros? That is 2 zeros. So again, quick way would be saying 10 to the second power is just another way of saying 2 zeros at the end. Now, if you want to do the next thing, you would do 50 times 40 to find out how many that would be. So you could have said 20 is 5 times 4, and then you would times it by 10 to the second power because there were 2 zeros at the end. Next, you could have done 50 times 50 next. So you would do 5 times 5, which is 25, and then you have 2 zeros, so 2 zeros have to be at the end, so you could just do 10 to the second power. Next is 50 times 60 now. Now again, 5 times 6 is going to be 30, and then you would times it by how many zeros are at the ends, which is 2. So the quick way to say 2 zeros would be 10 to the second power. 5 times 70 now. So it'd be 50 times 70. So in order to do that, basic math fact would be 5 times 7, which is 35, and then times it by 10 to the second power as well, because there's 2 zeros at the end. Then just to see it, instead of going back and forth, these are all 50 times these numbers. So if you do 50 times 80, the basic math fact would be 8 times 5, which is 40, and then times it by how many zeros are at the ends would be 10 to the second power. You need 2 zeros. Then this one, 5 times 9 is 45. Then times it by, we need 2 zeros, so that would be 10 to the second power. Now here, there could be 2 different things that you could have said. You could have said the basic math fact. Some people would have said, oh, it's just 5 times 1, which is true. 5 times 1 is 5. But then how many zeros do you need to say? You actually need to say 3. So now this one would be 10 to the third power. So, or the other thing that you could have said is you could have just have kept 50, because 50 times 1, and then times it by 10 to the second power. You could have done that as well, 50 was already taken up by 1, which then just leaves that 2 zeros. So there was a couple ways to do that one. I do want you to quickly just stop this and go ahead and try doing, if now one roll has 40 quarters in it, what would 30 rolls be, and so on. Do the rest of this. So I'm going to put this on pause, and then I will have you see what the answers are here shortly. So if you did do what I had asked you to do, you could have come, I already had it pre-written down on another page. So that would have been your answers. So if you just pause that, you can see all the answers and see if you were right, but those should have been your answers on that. All right, so now I'm going to go on to the next thing. So this one, you guys probably kind of did with Mr. Brian. Right here, this part is when it's like the lattice method. If he showed you the lattice method, the 6 times 80 goes here. So therefore, how many zeros are at the ends here? There is no 0 at the end of 6, but there is 1 here. So you could say that means that there is going to be, well, you know what, I should have done another thing. I should have done 6 times 8 first. 6 times 8 is 48. And then you times it by, now how many zeros are at the end? It is just 1, so you could just say 10 to the first power. And then down here, you could just do 6 times 9 as the basic math fact, which is 54. And then you times it by how many zeros are at the ends of this. There's only 1, so it'd be 10 to the first power. Next, basic math fact, and 70 times 80 is 7 times 8, which leaves you with 56. And then you times it by how many zeros are at the ends. It is 2, so the quick way to say that is 10 to the second power. Next, 70 times 90, you would say, what is the basic math fact? That is 7 times 9, which is 63 times, and then you say how many zeros. That would be 2 zeros, so the quick way to say that would be 10 to the second power. This one is already done for you. They said, okay, 8 times 8 is 64, and then you have 2 zeros here plus 1 more, so that is 3. So then you would times it by 10 to the third power. Next, 9 times 8 is the basic math fact, which is 72. And then you times it by 10 to the what power to find out how many total zeros you have at the end. There's 3 here plus 1 more. So that is actually 10 to the fourth power. Then on this one, you would do 8 times 9. So 8 times 9 is 72. And then you multiply it by the total number of zeros are at the end. So here's 2 here plus 1 more. That would be a total of 3. So it would be 10 to the third power. And then this one is already given to you. That would be 81 times 10 to the fourth power. All right, now we're going to go into some of the story problems here. It says, what if you magnified the image of the cluster fly by 9 times 10 to the third power? What would the length appear to be? So if you come over here, you got to look for the cluster fly. The cluster fly is right here. Its length is 9 millimeters. So they're saying, what if you multiply it by 9 times 10 to the third power? How big would it appear then? So in order to figure that out, the cluster fly, remember, was 9 millimeters. And then you are going to times it by 9 times 10 to the third power. So here, in order to do this, we would have to find out what the basic math fact is, which is 9 times 9, which if you could cluster those with a parenthesis, 9 times 9 is 81. And then this means 10 to the third power means just 3 zeros. So it'd be 81 and then 1, 2, 3 zeros. So it would appear to look like 81,000 millimeters. Next, it says if you magnify the images of a fire ant by 4 times 10 to the third power and a tree hopper by 3 times 10 to the third power, which insect would appear longer and how much longer? So in order to do this, now you will have to go to the fire ant, and over here you look for the fire ant. It is 4 millimeters. So you would do 4 times 4 times 10 to the third power. This is the, I'm going to say FA for fire ant. So that is how you find that. And now you go to the tree hopper. So it would be TH, which is tree hopper. And in order to find out how big the tree hopper is, you come over here. It is saying it is 6 millimeters. So it is 6 times, now what's the rest? It would be 3 times 10 to the third power. So we would figure out first which insect would appear to be longer. So in order to do this, you could just do the basic math fact. So the basic math fact would be 4 times 4. You should, if you do know your multiplication facts, and you should, it would be 16. And then this is telling you to add 3 zeros. So that would appear to be 16,000 millimeters. If you did the tree hopper, you would find the basic math fact, which is 6 times 3, which is 18. And then this is how many zeros you would add on, which is 3. So this one would be 18,000 millimeters is how it would appear to be. So which insect would appear to be longer? It would be the tree hopper. So tree hopper would be more because it is much larger in size compared to the fire ant. Now the question is, that was just one question. The second one was, how much longer is this than this? So in order to find out how much longer, you had to find the difference between those. So in order to find the difference, you would do 18,000 minus 16,000 to find out how much more larger it would be. So if you did this, 0 minus 0 is 0, and then this would be 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. So, and then 1 minus 1 is nothing. So therefore, it would be longer by 2,000 millimeters. So we'll say by 2,000 millimeters. All right, next. It says John wants to magnify the image of a fire ant and a crab spider so that they appear to be the same length. How many times their actual size would he need to magnify each image? So a fire ant is 4. So we're going to say fire ant is 4 millimeters. And then the crab spider, if you look up here, the crab spider is 5 millimeters. So in order to find out what it could be to be the same length, that would be trying to figure out what can go into both. So here is something that you could do. You could keep going by multiples of 4 because that's what the fire ant does. And you can keep going to multiples of 5 until they get to the same number. So what we're going to do is we're going to do multiples of 4 and 5 until they begin to match. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. You keep going by 4s. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24. And we'll stop right there and we'll see if we can find any if we go by 5s. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. Are you seeing anything matching yet? No, so you keep going. The next one would be 15. Do we see anything matching yet? Still a no. Then 5 times 4 is 20. Do we see anything matching yet? Oh, yes, we do. The 20s are the same. So therefore, how many times their actual sizes would they need to magnify each image so they each come out to be the same length? So in order to do this, what would you have to multiply 4 by to get it to 20? You would have to times 4 by 5. So the fire ant would have to be multiplied by 5 in order to look like it is 20. And then here, what would you have to multiply 5 by to get it to 20? 5 times what will give you 20? That would be 4. So that is what they were looking for there. Next, the very next thing is here is the next thing. These are more story problems. So it says, it's talking about blood is necessary for all human life. It contains red blood cells and white blood cells that nourish and cleanse the body and platelets that stop bleeding. The average adult has about 5 liters of blood. So now they want you to go, it says go deeper. A human body has about 30 times as many platelets as white blood cells. A small sample has 8 times 10 to the third power white blood cells. About how many platelets would be in that sample? So if you look here, it said 30 times as many platelets as white blood cells. So they're telling you that this is how many blood cells. So in order to find out the platelets, you should do 30 times the white blood cells to get the platelets. So the white blood cells in this case was 8 times 10 to the third power. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. You could join, I would probably join these together first. What is 8 and then 3 zeros? That would be 8,000. Then times by 30. And then now you do 8 times 3, which is 24. And then how many zeros are at the end? It is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would be 240,000 platelets. Next, basophils and monocytes are types of white blood cells. A blood sample has about 5 times as many monocytes as basophils. If there are 60 basophils in the sample, how many monocytes would there be? So in order to find this, it says 5 times as many monocytes as basophils. So therefore, in order to find the monocytes, you would take the basophils and times it by 5 to figure out how many monocytes. So in order to do that, you would do 5 times the basophils. Well, in this case, it said 60. So in order to do that, the math fact, the basic math fact is 6 times 5, which is 30. And then you add one more 0, which is 300 monocytes. Okay, next, lymphocytes and eosinophils are types of white blood cells. A blood sample has about 10 times as many lymphocytes as eosinophils. If there are 2 times 10 to the second power eosinophils in a sample, about how many lymphocytes are there? All right, so it said that there are about 10 times as many lymphocytes as eosinophils. So this is the amount of eosinophils. So in order to figure out the lymphocytes, you would have to take this and then multiply it by the 10 to equal out how many lymphocytes there are. So you could do 10 times 2 times 10 to the second power. Well, in order to figure this out, there are a couple of ways. You could just do this. Also, something else that you could have saw is, hey, there's another 10 plus 2 more. That would be a total of 3 10s. So since they're all powers of 10, you can combine them, and then there would be 3 10s times 2. Or you could also do this. You could do 2 with 2 zeros, and then times it by 10 again. And then you could do 2 times 1 is 2, and then that leaves you with 3 zeros. So then 3 zeros at the end is 2,000 lymphocytes. Next, an average person has 6 times 10 to the second power times as many red blood cells as white blood cells. A small sample of blood has 7 times 10 to the third power white blood cells. About how many red blood cells would that be? So it says the average person has 6 times 10 to the second power times as many red as white. So in order to figure this out, you would have to take the white and multiply it by the red. So you should have done 7 times 10 to the third power. Then over here, you could have also done 6 times 10 to the second power as well. So you could have multiplied all of this. So if you did that, you could have just have separated them if that would have been easier for some of you. 6 times 2, 10 to the second power means a 6 with 2 zeros, and then timesing it by this, which is a 7 with 3 zeros. So then you could have combined this. The basic math fact would have been 6 times 7, which is 42. And then how many zeros are there? There is 3, 4, and 5 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So starting from the back, 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. So therefore this is 4,200,000 red blood cells. All right, now I want you guys to stop this and actually try this on your own, and then we'll go over it after you pause this. So go ahead and pause it and try it on your own, and then we'll see what the answer is. Okay, so what you should have done is you should have, go ahead, and so Kyle says 20 times 10 to the fourth power is the same as saying 20 3,000. He reasoned that since he saw 4 as the exponent, he should write 4 zeros in his answer. Is Kyle correct? All right, so we will see. So 20 times 10 to the 4th power. Let's try that. So first of all, we should put the 20 down. 20. And then 10 to the 4th power does mean 4 zeros. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So starting from the back, 1, 2, 3, comma. Do they get the same answer? Actually, no, they do not. He more than likely forgot that there was a 0 behind the 20 as well. So he did not include that 0. So actually, this is actually 2 times 10 to the 5th power if you want to include that 0 over here. So therefore, he is incorrect. We can say no, because he forgot the 0 in 20. All right, now we're going to go over what your homework is going to be for this time around. So they just want you to complete the pattern of what is going on. So the basic math fact is 5 times 6, which would be 30. So when you do this, you would do it over here. 5 times 6 is 30, but then you have one more 0 to add on. So your answer should actually be 300. Next, you still have your 30. And then, so I'm going to write that there. And then this means you have 2 zeros. So 1, 2. So therefore, your answer would be 3,000. Here, you have a 30 again from the 5 times 6. And then you have to add on 3 more zeros. So 1, 2, 3. Your answer would be 30,000. All right, next thing. I am going to do this one with you as well. 3 times what will be 27? So you should be going through your 3s and figure out what the other one is. Actually, this kind of cheats a little bit because it kind of tells you what it is. It is actually 3 times 9. So there should have been a 9 there, but then they want you to complete the rest of this pattern. So 3 times 9 is that 27, but if you times it by 10 to the 1st power, that means you're going to make it bigger by 1 place, or adding a 0 behind it. So therefore, here's the 27 with 1 0 added on. Next, this is going to be again 27, but now this is going to tell you to put on 2 zeros or move it 2 decimal places larger. So you would be doing that, and it would be 1, 2, 3, comma. So it'd be 2,700. Next, again, you would write your 27, but then this means you would put 3 zeros in the back of it. So therefore, 1, 2, 3, comma, it'd be 27,000. So I'm actually going to do just one more here for you. This one says blank times 4 equals 28. Again, it kind of cheated. It kind of gave you the answer. It is 7 times 4 equals 28. So right here, you know that 7 times 4 is 28. So 28 has been taken out. But now, what do we need to put in here? We need to say what is still left over, which is 1 0. So in order to do this, how do I say 1 0? Well, you could have said 10 to the 1st power. This one is your 28 again. So I'm going to just highlight the 28 for that part. But then how many more zeros will be needed to be added on so that it comes out to be 2,800? And you should have said 2 zeros. So then this one would be 10 to the second power. And then again, 7 times 4 is 28 again. And then this one now has 3 zeros needed. So you do 10 to the third power. So I want you guys to now do 5 and 6 and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and 14 for homework. We are right here. I'm going to do this one with you. The Florida Everglades welcomes about 2 times 10 to the third power visitors per day. Based on this, about how many visitors come to the Everglades per week? All right, so this one was per day. Keep that in mind. So this is a day. But then what they did is they said, how much would that be per week? Well, how many days are in a week? Well, you could have said, well, that would be 7 times, which there is 7 days in a week. So then you can times it by 7. So therefore, what you could do here is you could come together over here and just group these because you want to do the basic math fact first. That's not going to hurt anything. What is 7 times 2 is 14. And then this is telling you to add 3 zeros to it. So it would be 14,000 people per week. All right, now this one just says, do the products of this and this and do they have the same amount of zeros? So remember, products mean products, whenever you see the word product, it means answer to a multiplication problem. So here we go. We are going to find out what the answer to this is going to be and the answer to this multiplication is going to be, and then we're going to find out whether they have the same amount of zeros or not. So first of all, we're going to look here. This is 5 times 4 is the basic math fact, which is 20. And then how many zeros do we add on to that? We add on 3 more zeros. So then therefore that product has 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros here. Then here, let's do this one. 4 times 6 is 24. And then how many zeros are at the end? 1, 2, 3. That would be 3 zeros. So then what would be the amount of zeros here? And that would be 3 zeros. So do they have the same amount of zeros? Well, you should say no, because 20,000 has 1 more zero because of in the 20, there is that 0 again there. So you could say no, because 20,000 has 4 zeros, and the other, and 24,000 only has 3 zeros. All right, so that is what you would just do on your paper as well with me. And now I'm going to do the back very quickly as well. So on this one, I want you to do 1 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 And then we are going to do number 2 together. Addison studies a tarantula that is 30 millimeters long. Suppose she uses a microscope to magnify the spider by 4 times 10 to the second power. How long will the spider appear to be? So again, they're going to, the tarantula is 30 millimeters, but they're going to magnify it by 4 times 10 to the second power. So we are going to multiply it by 4 times 10 to the second power. So now it's up to you how you guys want to go about doing this. You could choose to put these together, that is fine. What is 4 with 2 zeros? That would be 400. And now you got to times it by your 30. So if you look, 3 times 4 is your basic math fact, which is 12. And then how many zeros are at the end? That is 3. So therefore, your answer will be 12,000 millimeters is how big it will appear to be. All right, so that is lesson 1.5. So now that it's lesson 1.5, the next thing is actually a mid-chapter checkpoint. So we are now at the middle of the chapter. And because of that, I do want you to try this, and I do want to see what your answers are. It is just 1 page, front and back, and that is it. There's just going to be some things that I'm going to cross out because I told you it is not a 5th grade standard, and it is very true. It is not. So if it's not a 5th grade standard, I don't want you guys to do it. When I go over it, which will be in a later video, I will go over this with you. So I want you still to keep it here. We will go over it. But I do want you to try this. You are going to cross out 9 and 10. I don't want you to try that. And then I want you to go to the next page. Next page, I want you to cross out number 16 as well. And then the last thing that I want you to write to cross out is number 20. Not the entire thing, but use the associative and commutative properties. You do not need to do that. But you can still find the product. Remember, product means the answer to a multiplication problem. I still want you to find the answer to this problem right here, and you can just write it down here. I still want you to find that product. So that is what I want you to do on your next assignment, is to do the mid-chapter checkpoint. And then you can turn in a picture of that for me as well. And then later on, probably in a little bit, I'll be posting another another video for you to go over this. But I probably won't do that. I won't post the answers to this until next week, so I can at least give some people some time to turn this into me. So you could just do it by putting it in a document. Just give me your answers is good enough for me, and then just submit it to me. That is all you need to do. I'll make up a document for you, and then you just put in your answers into the document so that you can keep this page, and then later on we'll refer back to what your answers were, and you can see how well you did on it. So that is what I want you to be doing next as well. Now I'm going to end this, and then the next one I will do, I'll make up another video of 1.6 would be next. So I am going to end this now. So make sure you do 1.5 and that mid-chapter for me. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.